So pick number 1. Bears are on the clock. We will give you 4 options. Do we even dare give you 4 options for this one? Are the people going to go Caleb Williams, or are they going to screw up our mock draft right away?
I mean, you have to give him 4 because then it's definitely going to be Caleb Williams. If you only give him Caleb Williams or other, there's a danger you might get enough other picks.
All right, so in round 1, let's just put the 4 quarterbacks up there. Bears are on the clock for pick 1. Let's go Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy. We'll give 4 options for the Bears. Do the right thing, chat.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. Make sure that it's Caleb Williams so that our whole mock draft is not thrown off. This is your mock draft.
Here we go.
There we go. The poll's up.
So we've been skating over this pick very quickly every other time we've done a mock draft. Can you construct an argument that any other quarterback other than Caleb Williams should be number 1?
I can't. I mean, I think it would have to start with Caleb Williams' negatives, right? So if you were looking at negatives, you would say, okay, he didn't peak as a junior. He hit some adversity maybe for the first time in his career, and USC kind of crumbled down the stretch. Is that all his fault? Not necessarily. Had some games where he didn't look great under pressure, Notre Dame game, and just didn't really recover last year. And then you would have to prop someone else up. I think if you were, as much as I like Drake May, if you were propping someone up over Caleb Williams, it might be Jaden Daniels. You would say 23-year-old Jaden Daniels, electric runner, good in the pocket, make all the throws. Jaden Daniels, with his Heisman winning season, while things were crumbling around Caleb Williams, it would have to be Jaden Daniels, in my opinion, even though I think Drake May should be QB too. So I think the argument against Caleb Williams would be the downturn at the end of his career, which was
playing
outside of structure and everything.
Yeah, which was sort of more, it was a bigger downturn than the stats might look. So 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions last season. His fumble rate is massive, actually, relative to some other guys. His turnover-worthy play rate went from 8 to 18, 1.6% to 3.6%. So it was a much bigger volume of bad plays last season than maybe it looks if you're just looking at touchdown to interception ratio. That's what it would focus on. It's like right up until that point, he looked like he was on the Mahomes spectrum of the dude, for some reason, is able to get away with that stuff that other people aren't. And then last year, it's like, maybe not. Maybe he's actually not able to get away with it all the time. Because that is a concern, right? Mahomes is literally the only quarterback ever that's been able to consistently get away with those throws that you're not supposed to make, right? Even Brett Favre. Brett Favre, broke records in terms of volume and, put up crazy numbers. But his propensity to do that probably cost him rings. Like he won, right? But Brett Favre probably should have had another 1 or 2, but he didn't, because a couple of times late in the playoffs when the Packers should have won a game, Brett Favre decided to do that thing where he threw it back across his body into traffic and got picked off, right? It happened more than one time when his team was the better team and didn't get a ring because of it. So even Brett Favre couldn't get away with that as consistently as Patrick Mahomes has. And it looked like up until last year, Caleb Williams was that guy. And then last year, it's like, actually, no, he's human the same way.
All that said, as expected, Caleb Williams is the first pick. He is selected by the Bears in our viewer mock draft. Good start, good mock draft. We're 100% accurate for what's going to happen on Thursday night. Now we shake it up a little bit. The Washington Commanders. I think, do we just give them the next 3 quarterbacks? Do we throw a 4th quarterback in there? Clearly, we're going to have Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, just give him the 3.
Just give the 3?
There's no point putting anything else in there, right?
Okay. So let's just go with the 3 quarterbacks that have all had some level of rumor to go at number 2 to the Washington Commanders. I want to rehash this a little bit. Do you want to? Well, we talked a lot about the alpha test on Thursday. We discussed this quite a bit on the 30 visit where all the guys came in. Jaden Daniels and his agent seemed to be upset. They weren't expecting an alpha test. They thought it was a one-on-one. They thought it was just a normal sleepover.
Yeah,
but it was not.
No.
Invited a lot of friends.
Top Golf and other people.
Yeah. So does that mean the Patriots and or anyone trading up at 4 are getting the non-alphas here?
Well, this is
the alpha test losers.
I mean, so Jaden Daniels' representatives. Well, okay, there were reports that Jaden Daniels was upset and his representatives were upset that they thought this was just a one-on-one, top 30 meeting, and then they rock up and everyone else is there as well. Or what the hell? And we were making the point, largely jokingly, that whinging about it publicly is very non-alpha. That's why you do the alpha test, right? You don't see J.J. McCarthy bitching about it. He just went out there and, became the alpha. He was like, this is an opportunity to show that I'm the guy that everyone will gravitate to. And, so this is why you run that test. Find the guy that's going to whinge about it.
Now, the thing I've been saying this entire time for the Commanders.
Again, to be clear, joke.
Yeah, these are all jokes. Even though we had a lot of fun going back in time, pulling out who the alpha would have been in each class. Do you think all of the buzz has been around Jaden Daniels? Now there's these reports that the couple visits with Washington haven't been great, including the 30 visit. The meetings with them have not been great. Do you think that and a lot of the Jaden Daniels buzz, I don't believe is coming out of Washington? And then there's a lot of NFL analysts, Dan Orlovsky, I believe, Louis Riddick. There are some people who like Jaden Daniels as QB1. They're hinting the other way. And then a lot of Jaden Daniels is going to go to Washington is based off people talking around the league. But I don't know how much of that's actually coming out of Washington. Then you have movement in the betting lines the last couple days. That Drake May's moved up a little bit, Jaden Daniels has moved down, and I just want to remind people how little that matters. Because last year, on draft week, maybe on draft day, the favorites to go number 2 overall to the Houston Texans were Will Levis and then Tyree Wilson. Will Anderson was 3rd or 4th on that list. Of course, Will Levis fell to the 2nd round. Tyree Wilson didn't go until 7. And then the Texans took C.J. Stroud and traded up for Will Anderson, guys who were nowhere to be seen in the top 2 as far as favorites for number 2. So does any of this matter? My theory on all this is that it always could have been Drake May, and us believing it was Jaden Daniels wasn't actually coming out of Washington's camp.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's substance to this Bill Belichick notion that everything you're hearing around now is not coming from teams. Accurate information is not coming out until Thursday, until draft day. The one interesting nugget, though, was that this idea of the constant thread that J.J. McCarthy has been higher ranked by the NFL than publicly. And remember, Tom Palazzolo at the owners' meetings was saying he'd talked to a bunch of people and basically just asked them all who's Washington taking. And the majority of replies he was getting said J.J. McCarthy. Like, he had more McCarthy answers than anybody else when he was asking that question at the owners' meeting. That, I think, is kind of intriguing. So it's being framed to a degree as Jaden Daniels versus Drake May at 2. I still do think that there's a live chance that McCarthy's in that mix as well.
I just want to respond to something, too, because we're going to be here for 4 hours. Why not?
Sweet.
This weekend, was it who did I respond to? There was a comment about analytics. I think it was from Jason Lockenfora. From Lockenfora basically says, quote, 2 GMs told me they believe if the Commanders let the analytics guide them, McCarthy is their guess for the number 2 pick. If the team's coaches hold significant sway, then Daniels would be the selection, end quote. So the idea that, like, hashtag analytics has a say, and that it is a say, it is this, like, one overarching say, is just so wrong in a million ways. And if this is what GMs are saying, I mean, it's just the point I was trying to make in response to this is every NFL team has PFF data plus other data sources, and they all do math on it differently, and they still all come to different conclusions. There is no one overarching analytical take. The same way when you put a take out there and someone says, PFF says, it's like, no. Sam said it, right? Sam's opinion might be different from Steve's, which might be different from Trevor's. PFF doesn't have a say. We have a grade. We have a production grade on players, which is the PFF grade, but we don't have a say or a particular take that is uniform across the board, nor does analytics.
And if they did, it would almost certainly not point you in the direction of J.J. McCarthy as the guy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even if you assumed that was a reasonable way of framing the conversation, the guy that analytics would identify of the 3 quarterbacks would not be J.J. McCarthy.
I don't actually know who it would be because, like, what variables are you using? If you're using age and winning percentage as big variables, which some analyst might do, it might be J.J. McCarthy. If you're using if you're factoring in,
I think it would probably be May.
I think if you used all the data and you didn't just look at the last season, it would be Drake May.
Right.
And because there would probably be some age baked in, there would be some production baked in, and Drake May's 2 seasons of production are better than the career of Jaden Daniels, the career of JJ McCarthy.
And the thing,
but if you were just looking at last season, it would be Jaden Daniels. So when the variables change, the quote analytics change as well. So just don't be fooled.
and
Just
the
don't be
thing that
swayed by
you're
that.
scared of with Drake May is the inconsistency, right? But even that inconsistency still resulted in a PFF grade above 90 and a turnover-worthy play rate lower than 2%. And, like the concern for him is not that big relative to some other guys. Whereas with Jaden Daniels, who has outstanding PFF grades and turnover-worthy play rate and all those kinds of things as well, the thing that's scary with him is this like ludicrous sack rate and pressure to sack rate and like those things that put him in a group of quarterbacks that are all terrible and Joe Burrow. So it's like, that's a big thing to be frightened of for him.
All right, so the results are in here for our viewer mock draft. The Commanders will take Jaden Daniels. He does win 51% to Drake May getting 40%. JJ McCarthy comes in third at 8%. That puts the New England Patriots up on the clock. And so I think we've got to give them Drake May and JJ McCarthy, give them Marvin Harrison Jr.
And a trade down, you've got to do it.
Are we going to play the trade down game?
I mean, if you open this door, the trade down's got to start.
All right,
now.
so I'll give trade down as an option for the Patriots here. If it wins, then we'll have to have a new poll with who's trading up. Sound good?
Yep.
All right, so let's go. The 2 quarterbacks, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Marvin Harrison Jr., or trade down for the New England Patriots. By the way, the 7-round analyst mock draft, of which you and I were both a part over at PFF, is officially on the website. I did draft for New England, and I did the trade down move. I traded down, still got Michael Penix, and just accumulated picks. I think I got a lot of players. Not all the right players that I liked, but I got a lot of players. Really loaded up on offense for New England. Go check it out. You had did you have Minnesota?
Yeah.
In that? How'd you do?
Rather not talk about it.
No. Sometimes it's not what you think.
Well, I was
Sometimes
somewhat.
it's tough. It's tough having the model, and other people are picking your players.
Yeah, well, so part of when you're playing GM is, we talk about this all the time, it's understanding who else is playing the game, right? And I was like, I'm going to let the quarterback slide to me because I know the way a lot of these people operate. I hadn't factored in the fact that you were New England and playing this dumb trade down game and were able to grab quarterbacks in front of me. It ruined my plan.
Oh, I ruined your plan?
Yes.
Nice. That's good. Oh, that's good. It's good to hear. I'm glad I did. I had people ruin my plan. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get some receivers in the second, and they went like 4 off the board right in front of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'll take Keon Coleman. Maybe Sam's right. Maybe he is awesome. Maybe he is wide receiver 5. Even you're making faces when I took Keon Coleman.
I've made my stance on Keon Coleman very clear. I love Keon Coleman, and I have no good reason for doing so, and that scares me.
If we do a trade down, the early winner right now for New England is Drake May. Trade down is second, 50% for Drake, 32% for the trade down. If we do a trade down for Arizona, we're not going to go through. We'll just assume the terms are good, right? Like assume you're getting a good deal,
Right.
With whoever you're trading with. We'll assume that you're getting next year's first rounder and like all the fun stuff. You'll get what you want. But I am curious to see if Arizona, if we do win the vote to trade down, because they'll be between Marvin Harrison Jr. probably, Malik Neighbors, we'll say Joe Alt, and then the trade down. It looks like we're close here to having Drake May, though, be the selection for the New England Patriots. I can't wait, man. I can't wait this Thursday night to find out what actually happens, how teams actually value the quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I urge people to tune in on Thursday's episode for Nate Tice because he is the foremost Drake May apologist out there. And we got him on essentially specifically for that reason. We've heard a lot of people criticizing or talking up Drake May's negatives, and Nate Tice has him as QB1 and really does make a compelling argument for why you should be more in like buying into the upside for Drake May than being concerned about the negatives.
Yeah, I'm glad you reminded people because I was going to do that. Nate Tice on Thursday's show already recorded the interview, and he makes the case for Drake May that others aren't making, Sam. So Drake May is the pick for the New England Patriots. He defeats The trade down, 49% to 31%. J.J. McCarthy, again, a third-place finish coming in behind Drake May here. So let's put the Arizona Cardinals. So far, we do have the 3 quarterbacks. This would be NFL history if 4 quarterbacks came off the board to start the draft. So we have Caleb Williams going to the Bears at 1, Jaden Daniels going to the Commanders at 2, Drake May to the Patriots at number 3. That puts Arizona up on the clock, and I believe we should give them those options. The trade down option, then Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt. Is that fair? The top 3, next 3 blue chip type of players on the board, and then the trade down option.
I don't even. Do we need to give him Joe Alt? Like just
do the 2
Harrison
receivers.
Neighbors trade down.
Harrison Neighbors and a trade down.
Which, by the way, is literally the only thing that registers on the mock draft sim. Like their picks have gone Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, the end.
So we got 3 options. Let's see what's going to win here. I have a feeling we're going to have to do the trade down, and it's going to get messy. It's going to get messy over here, but we'll see.
You opened the door.
I did. People asking when Renner's coming back. I did. So I did talk to Mike yesterday. We were loaded up with interviews this week. We're gonna try to have Renner on the show after the draft. So we'll get his post-draft takes. He's still in between jobs right now, but hopefully have an announcement soon on the horizon for Mike. So checked in on him yesterday. Always love hearing our old friend Mike's draft takes, and we'll try to get him on the show here after the draft.
Nice.
See how teams did.
Nice.
How's the poll going? Right now?
Almost 300 votes so far. And Drew, where are we going?
It's not a trade. It's not going to be a trade down. It
Yeah,
is
Marvin Harrison's winning.
It is Marvin Harrison Jr. People are not in the trade down camp. They don't want it to be.
Back 2-1.
They don't want to deal with.
Also, a
trade
landslide. He's not the Malik and Neighbors versus Marvin Harrison thing is not close, at least judging by this poll.
I'm interested by this. Oh, so Marvin Harrison Jr. 65%, Malik Neighbors 6% as of right now. Is that just people being influenced by us, where we've held our ground and said it's Marvin Harrison Jr., it's not Malik Neighbors, even though the NFL, a lot of people have put Malik Neighbors above MHJ?
Yeah, hard to say how much we're putting our thumb on the scales there, but that's not close.
If I put my thumb on the scale, just saying it's going to potentially break.
Yeah.
Might break a lot of
Big
things
thump.
that are weight related.
A lot of weight being added to that
around
scale.
here. I think it's we're good to make a call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the pick at number 4 for the Arizona Cardinals. I don't want to do too much more trade down options. I think this is probably the last one.
Yeah,
Chargers,
I think if we
right?
didn't get it 3 and 4, we're not getting it, period.
So MHJ going to the Arizona Cardinals to pair with Kyler Murray. We are getting back to chalky type of draft territory here. So the 2 big names for the Chargers. Is it just 3 big options here? Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt, and the trade down? Do you throw like a Brock Bowers in there?
I mean, I think I would put both wide receivers, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Joe Alt, and then if you want to put Bowers as your 4th.
No, I want one trade down option for the Chargers.
You want a trade down option?
I think this would be I think the Chargers should be the last trade down.
All right.
Because J.J. McCarthy's still on the clock here. Now, if I had to guess, I think this is how it could go, where the 3 quarterbacks go off the board, and if one of them was going to fall, it would be J.J. That's where I am.
If Jim Harbaugh is to be believed, I mean, he thinks
imagine
that J.J. McCarthy is the best player in this draft.
So let me explain why
If that was true, you would have to take him.
We cannot. We're still getting emails about would Jim Harbaugh trade Justin Herbert, and just so we know, by the way, the two receivers, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Joe Alt, and a trade down. Those are the options for the Chargers. We're still getting questions. Would the Chargers trade Justin Herbert and draft J.J. McCarthy? The reason why it's a no is because Justin Herbert just signed his new contract within the last year, and the dead cap hit is so massive.
But is there ever a scenario? So if he was being honest and he thinks that J.J. McCarthy is in fact the best player in this draft and therefore the best player in a lot of drafts, at what point do you take him anyway?
It doesn't. The benefit. So the benefit of having. So first off, if J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback in the draft, That doesn't mean he's better than Justin Herbert.
Sure.
Second, the benefit of drafting a quarterback is the first contract quarterback, that first contract situation where you could build the team around him.
What if
you have that kind of dead money with Herbert, you don't have that option.
But what if you just stash him? What if you draft J.J. McCarthy knowing that he is your Aaron Rodgers, and then we don't know yet how good Justin Herbert is? We spent the last few years going, well, if we could just unlock this next 20% of Justin Herbert, you'd get, a Patrick Mahomes rival. But nobody's been able to do it yet. So what if we get J.J. McCarthy, because apparently the next Aaron Rodgers has just dropped into our laps at pick number 5, and then we just stash him for a couple of years. And then a couple of years' time, Justin Herbert's contract is a lot more easy to move, and he hasn't taken that next step, and we go, I knew it. That's why I drafted JJ. Genius.
I mean, we can at least have the conversation in the draft room, but I don't think it's going to happen. I got news for you, Sam. It's about to get crazy. Trade down. Looks like it's the early favorite here.
Oh, look what you did.
In the poll. Trade down. So now I got to start thinking, if the Chargers are going to trade down, who are the trade up teams? Certainly the Vikings at 11. So these would be the 4 options for me. I would say the Giants at 6, the Vikings at 11, Broncos at 12, Raiders at 13.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Those would be the 4 trade up teams if this all goes down.
Yep.
And it looks like it's going to.
Lock
52% for the trade down. You want to call it?
Yep.
Let's call it for trade down in the Chargers. So the Chargers are trading down, which means we need a new poll for which team is going to trade up. The viewers are getting crazy here, Sam. It's great. And we appreciate everybody for being live here on a Monday morning. So the 4 teams to trade up influence the viewers here. Vikings number 1 on the list. Vikings, Broncos, Raiders, and Giants. The Giants moving up from 6 to 5 if they wanted to.
Well, the Giants have the benefit of the smallest jump and therefore having to give up the least. The Vikings have the benefit of having 2 first-round picks and therefore having the ammunition to make it happen already. Denver's the team that would struggle to make it work because of draft capital, but might be the most quarterback-desperate team of the 4. And then the Raiders are just sitting there with their perpetual need of quarterback.
Yeah. I've said for a while, the Broncos are the most fascinating team, I think, in this draft. They are where the Bears were a couple drafts ago when the Bears didn't have they didn't have the draft capital to move, seemingly, and they had one of the worst QB situations, uninspiring QB situations, we'll say, with Andy Dalton. And they went up and got Justin Fields. The Broncos, I think, are similar. Jarrett Stidham sitting there as the starting quarterback. Sean Payton being the coach is the fascinating aspect of it. It's all moot, though, because the Vikings are going to be the team that trades up here. So in the booth, I think if the Vikings trade, let's just keep it simple, right? It'll be 11 and 23 and whatever else makes sense on the chart. But for our purposes, the Vikings send 11 and 23 to the Chargers for 5. That all seem fair? To at least get that for this draft.
Yeah, it might cost them more than that, but
right. I'm not going to sit here and calculate it. I don't know it off the top of my head. If we did a write-up on it, we would get the right answer. But for our purposes right now, we know that the Chargers are going to pick at 11 and 23.
Yeah, it is a lower draft spot than most trades have had Minnesota jumping up to. Like, it's usually up to 4 or up to 3.
Right.
This is only up to 5. So yeah, whatever. It's going to cost them 11, 23, and maybe some other tinkering.
All right. So
I don't think, though, getting from where they are 11 to 5 is not going to be 3 first-round picks the way, it's not going to match the San Francisco trade for Trey Lance.
What are the options for Minnesota then? So the Minnesota Vikings, breaking news. The Minnesota Vikings have traded up to number 5 overall. And who are we going to put on the board here? J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix?
I mean, it's
Bo Nix?
It's just McCarthy.
You're just going to have a one-man poll here.
Just do it. It's not.
This is hearsay. Give the people an option. What if they want Penix?
Okay.
Other teams
fine
may value Penix as a top 5 pick.
Okay.
Just saying.
This poll lasts for like 7 votes until McCarthy is obviously the guy.
As of right now, J.J. McCarthy at 100%.
Yes.
In the poll.
Right. Now we've got 150 votes and it's 82%.
Bo Nix has some. If Renner's in the chat, he might give Bo Nix the vote here.
Call it. It's 80% plus. It's him.
We're calling it. It's J.J. McCarthy to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, we have a unique mock draft here, Sam.
Do we?
I haven't seen this everywhere. It's usually the Cardinals trading out, and now we've got the Chargers doing it.